Hi, I'm Mike Brampton.
And my name is Julian Hoad.
Welcome to Veterinary Ramblings.
With
Neil Connell.
Hey, how you doing?
Not too bad. Hanging on.
Oh
What
dear.
are you doing?
Oh,
Yeah,
but we're
all
having a
right.
ball.
I sound all right. Hold on a minute. I'll be all right in just a moment. Just pouring myself another Coca-Cola.
So that is, you're actually supposed to be working. That is out of control. Anyway, cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers. Cheers.
Can't beat a glass of gin, can you? Oh yeah.
So we're going to ask, I'm afraid, if it's all right with you, quite a tricky question just to start off, if that's okay. Mike, can you ask that? Is that all right?
Oh, I thought you were going to man up finally.
Well, no, I wasn't.
I thought finally.
We have this conversation here. It's become, I don't know why, it's become a big thing for me that I find it difficult to ask questions like this. And I don't know why, it's stupid really, but there we go. I've made it into a big thing, and Mike actually asks it, I think, a lot more empathetically and compassionately than I do. So I won't do a big thing about it, but Mike, if you could just...
The issue here is not whether I am empathetic in asking the question.
Which you are, very.
That's very kind. We've got no comparison because you've never asked the bloody question.
I almost did, once.
Yeah?
Yeah. I had laryngitis. Yeah.
So there's no comparison, is there? We don't know whether I asked the question nicely or not because you've never bloody asked it.
Do you know, perhaps I can anticipate the question.
Yes.
I think I've got the hang of this. I'll say it right now. My name is Niall Connell. I'm a librarian in Orthopaedic. I work 2 nights a week in an ice cream van, and I am a faithful.
That's excellent.
Yeah, but when you entered the show, was it a deliberate ploy that you'd put that accent on?
That's it. Yeah.
Is this a fake accent?
Obviously.
Oh, you've made my life very easy there, Neil, because you've sort of set the scene very nicely there. I think a lot of our listeners and viewers won't view you as just a librarian, of course.
Well, do you know, that could be absolutely the truth, as long as you don't ask me about indexing or anything. I'd probably start going on about the Russian note system and get myself into all sorts of bother.
Well, we weren't going to chat about the Dewey Decimal System later on, but we can...
I'd get caught out straight away.
Fair enough, but so you've answered a lot of the questions already. However, the question that you haven't answered, Neil, is what is your favourite bread?
What's my favourite bread? Well, I would have to say, thinking about it, probably sourdough bread. I do like a bit of sourdough bread.
It's a clear winner, isn't it? That comes up more often than it. We had one soda bread, I think, didn't we, earlier on?
Soda bread, I do like, I have to say. There's nothing nicer than sitting beside the river in some nice wee cafe in Galway and having a bit of soda bread. That'd be really nice.
Nice. I had some soda bread last time we went to Ireland. Of course, I saw you there as well, didn't I, earlier on this year?
That's true. That is true.
Sad time, but a nice bit of soda bread to be had.
Yeah.
There we
go. So sourdough, sir. So there you go, Julian. That's all you have to do.
You did so well. You did so. I can't do as well as that. Salted or unsalted butter? You were.
Do you know? I have to say, I'm easy about butter either way. Very often, I'll just eat the bread with nothing.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not fussed about butter either way. I don't know if that's because that's my own choice, or my wife doesn't let me eat butter, trying to get me to lose weight. That I've forgotten where I started.
Are you a heretic in other senses of the word as well?
Oh yes, always. But listen, Mike. I just do what I'm told. That's. I think that's the bottom line.
Quiet life, eh?
Yeah, that's the thing. That's the thing. Yeah, when you said sitting by a river, having soda bread, I could picture you fishing or something. But
I've never been a fish. Never been an angler. I have to say, I like the idea of sitting there. Maybe thinking of nothing, having a kind of Zen moment. But I can't honestly see myself getting excited about, casting, fishing rods or anything like that. I know nothing about that at all. So
no. I do a bit of sea fishing. I've got a friend who's got a boat, so We go up the mackerel
Oh,
line
nice.
occasionally, but that's not really fishing, is it? It's just you get this thing with 8 hooks on it, throw it off, and wheel it up. You've got 8 fish on the end of it. There's no weighting involved. It's just good fun.
Yeah, except your friend with that boat, it's more like survival, and it's not the survival of the fish that counts. You're going to get back on land, isn't it?
Yeah, this is the friend that had us benign on a shoal one night, pitch black. The engine stopped working on his boat because there was no wind, and so I had to inflate his inflatable canoe by hand because his pump wasn't working, and then paddle us both back to shore using the light of his iPhone.
That sounds like an adventure, I have to say. I'm a
It
big
was
fan of that program, the one about the RNLI, and I've got a friend who's a veterinary surgeon who actually volunteers for the RNLI, and you know, I've got nothing but respect for the work they do. It's incredible.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely incredible. Yeah, is that in Scotland?
Yes, yeah, from Girvan, I think.
This is proper wet and cold up there, isn't it?
It sure is.
Fair enough. Listen, we're rambling all over the place here, and I sort of feel, I actually feel, much as I'm enjoying it,
you've got to get to the point.
I say I'm feeling a little bit guilty that we've got you in, and you're not known for your fishing. You're not known for
No, that's true.
You're known as, well, you've been known you've worn many hats, haven't you, Neil, in your career? But you started off as a vet.
Yes, no, but obviously, yes, I am a vet, and the funny thing is, because I was at my own school, my high school, and I was talking to the kids, and I was saying to them, obviously, when I was in S5 at the time, I had no idea what I wanted to be, and it was a long time into my career before I admitted that, because obviously, traditionally, obviously, you know, people obviously wanted to be, you know, become a veterinary surgeon for a very young age.
Yeah.
But we had no awareness of that. I mean, there wasn't a thing. I mean, obviously, we took our cat to the PDSA when I was young, but it would never have occurred to me to be a vet. And someone just randomly suggested it to me. And I thought, you know what? I'd liked the James Herriot books. I helped out at the local wildlife centre at the weekend. And I thought, no, I'll give that a go. So that's now, I've been a vet now for 42 years, and I have to say I've never regretted that, but it was a random decision at the time.
Wow.
And you were a pretty successful orthopaedic vet, weren't you? You got your certificate in there.
Well, yeah. Well, the thing is not successful. The thing is, what actually happened was, obviously, when we were working in Glasgow, the PDSA, we were seeing an awful lot of fractures coming in. And I was very aware. I mean, I was actually terrified of orthopedics, and you know, and I was rubbish at it. And to be fair, I hope the staff at the time don't mind me saying this. They were pretty rubbish as well. And I thought, we need to do something about this. So I thought, you know, I'm going to actually, I'll have a go at doing the orthopedic certificate. And I remember the boss at the time, Sue, saying, you do realise that you're going to have to do all the orthopedic ops, and I thought, okay. But there was so many coming in. But I have to say, there was so much experience. It was a hugely steep learning curve, and I grew to love it. And it's funny because at that point, PDSA had they kind of deviated slightly from the sort of almaning situation, where you were allowed technically, if you were obviously a private practice vet, you were allowed to be referred for a one-off or a one-off situation if they couldn't afford it. This only lasted for a short while. And of course, the majority of cases that were referred to us at that point were orthopedic cases. There was 1 month, we had something like 90 referrals, and the vast majority of them were fractures. So I certainly did get my experience in quite, I kept a wee diary, and the wee diary kind of exploded very quickly. So I grew to love it, I have to say. So, but, and funny, I think now we do, possibly don't, I suspect we don't see as many fractures now, and I don't know if that's a change. Obviously, ownership is more, people are more aware, and obviously we don't see so many straying dogs now, and obviously the car design has changed as well, and a whole sort of different sort of situations have come up. But fortunately, I don't think we have that sheer amount of fractures. But honestly, it was completely crazy at the time.
Yeah, no, I can't remember the last time I saw a fracture. I mean, more than 4 months ago.
Incredible. We were literally doing them every day. I mean, it's incredible. And obviously we saw a lot of young dogs as well, and a lot of immature fractures as well. So a lot of sort of distal end femurs and things like epiphyseal fractures. So, but and you became quite quick at them and quite adept. But obviously, I never did get into some of the amazing stuff that's being done just now. I mean, I can't even spell TPLO, so that's a whole different world to me, I'm afraid. And the funny thing is, very, very occasionally, I do miss it. I don't think of it that often because obviously it's now 14, 15 years since I've actually been in clinical practice because of the whole MS situation. But fun enough, today I was at Glasgow Vet School for a thing, and I was in their operating theatre, and I got a wee flicker there. I thought, yeah, I remember all this. This is good. I had a wee notion.
Yeah.
So it was interesting.
You wouldn't want to go back.
Well, I don't believe in going back. I think I'm like some sad old Rottweiler crawling along, and I don't think of yesterday, and I don't think of tomorrow. Just concentrate on the day. So there's no real value in looking back because there's no point. So
you went back.
Nostalgia's not what it used to be. Yeah.
No, that's true.
You went back to your old school, though.
Sorry?
You went back to your old school.
I did. No, that's fine. Yeah, because I think the thing with the school, because at the time I was very aware over the years. After I qualified as a vet, it took 30 years for them to produce another vet.
Wow.
And I was really excited by that. And I was absolutely delighted because that day that I went along, it was incredible. There was an actual group. There was a veterinary nurse and a young vet from a local practice there as well, and it was terrific. Whereas in the past, I used to just have, when they started doing these careers events in second year, it would either be the inland revenue or the military. That was your choice. But they've got many more choices now. So I thought that was really healthy. So it was good to meet up with this other vet. So fantastic.
So what sort of questions did the kids ask you?
Well, so usually, traditionally, what they ask you is how much do you earn, and then they're disappointed when you try to answer them, sort of accurately. They think, whatever. My favourite question the other day was, do you own a gun? So I said, sadly, I do not.
A gun,
have you checked your locks? Whoa, hang on a second. Have you checked your locks on the house? Is this some whippersnapper asking you whether your security's good?
I don't know. They didn't actually elaborate, to be fair. So
do you? Oh gosh.
Horses
and hamsters. Those two reasons.
The other, I suppose, the other question you often get asked, I'm sure you've had this before, is what's the strangest animal you've ever treated or whatever, So, why do you like being a vet or so, but the kids were very engaged actually, and they really were, because often in the past sometimes you get some wee widos trying to run rings around you, but no, they were genuinely interested, and they were on their best behaviour. So so it was a very pleasant day.
And somebody else has told them you own a gun.
That's right. And then you showed it to them. Wasn't an international incident.
That's it. Oh dear.
And were they curious about your MS and how that affected your?
Not this time. But I tell you something that then this happens to me quite a lot. It happens to me in the profession, and it obviously, and it has happened when I've done these talks at schools. It's interesting because you'll have kids coming to me and saying, "Oh, their mum or their dad's got MS." So you've instantly got this connection, and they're interested in your career and they're interested in your experience. And I'm very, very lucky that people in the profession, that whether they're undergraduates or new graduates, or they'll actually reach out because they've obviously got health issues of their own, that's chronic health issues or disability or MS, and that they'll get in touch, and so we can have some good chats and things like that. And sometimes I'm slightly concerned because I think they'll see this sad old wreck, and they'll think, oh no, I don't want to be like that. But generally it is very positive, and and Do you know, I'm really pleased to, if I think I've been of help, and I'm delighted. But it is nice for people to reach out, I have to say.
I'm going to use the term ambassador, and I know we've spoken briefly about that before, but do you look upon yourself as potentially as an ambassador for MS or for disability?
Yeah, I haven't thought of that consciously, but to be honest, I think I suppose the way I look at it is I suppose I'd be quite candid about it. I don't want to make a big thing about it. I don't want to make it, like I've got this and that's it. I've got a hard life. But I'll be quite open about it. And, so I suppose sometimes, I suppose the plan is to make MS look good, but not to actually indicate that I want to let it get in my way. I mean, obviously it does to a certain extent. So I suppose ambassador is reasonable. I've never actually thought of it, as formally as that. So I mean, MS, it stands for more shenanigans. And it's something I have to put all with on a daily basis, and it's a gift that keeps giving. But I have to say, I cannot hate it, because I never did think when I stopped, I had to step away from clinical practice all those years ago, that I would encounter all the incredible career highlights that I've experienced since then. And do you know what? Chances are none of that would have come if I actually been chronically ill, which is most strange.
Is that right? So, I mean, career highlights.
I'd have just been just staggering along, some rubbish vet in the corner, just getting on with it. Whereas I've had all these fantastic experiences. It's been humbling.
Well, it really has been meteoric in many ways. You're RCVS treasurer, RCVS president. Goodness knows what else. I would give the list, but it's just to my computer screen. But I think the first time I met you was when you were RCVS president, wasn't it?
I know, and you know that.
You can't remember Julian.
Julian it really is very, very strange, because if you'd said a few years ago when you'd be an RCVS council, I'd have said I'd get out. That's a joke. And to be president was such an honor. And of course, then to be president during the pandemic, who saw that coming?
Yeah, absolutely.
And in a way, it was funny because I had 8 months of presidency, which was an absolute roller coaster. I mean, I have to say, if it had been longer than a year, it probably would have killed me. But I knew it was only for a year, so that was fine. But then, so 8 months of normality, then switched to 4 months of the pandemic, and it was all change. And for us all, obviously, that is a time that we'll never forget.
It was a time when you had to make so many temporary derogations.
That's right. Something like 30, I think. Because we had the COVID task force. So I think I chaired the first 12. So and the good thing is I showed up at my task forces. Never mind these pesky politicians. I was there. I showed up.
And you didn't have a party at the end of the day with
everyone? No, I didn't actually. No, we absolutely kept to the rules. And in actual fact, right at the very start, I think one of the first things we did was actually cancelled the president's reception. So that was at the very, very start. So obviously, I thought that probably getting everybody together in a small room was probably a bad move.
You never felt that driving to Barnard Castle would be a good idea?
It's funny you should say that, because the last couple of times because the train's been problematic, I've driven that journey a few times, and when I've gone down that road and I've passed that sign for Barnard Castle, I shouldn't really say this, but do you know what? It really gets me annoyed every time. Barnard Castle, and I can feel my hackles going up. If I had hackles, I don't even know what hackles are.
You only know when you think of Dominic and Barnard Castle.
I know. No.
I think we should actually briefly explain, because a lot of our American listeners will be missing the nuances on this completely. And
but they'll be used to politicians lying.
Will they?
Well, the thing is, let's stick to the positive side of it. I have to say, the positive side is the veterinary and the veterinary nursing professions, their behaviour was impeccable and outstanding. And honestly, it was you know, I'm so proud of them during the pandemic and them stepping up and what they did. So they were truly magnificent. So we don't have to worry about other people now. Their behaviour was that our folk were fantastic.
They really were. There were tough times, and everyone was absolutely focused on delivering still the best possible care to owners who needed their pets more than ever, as has been seen. How much has the pet ownership increased since COVID?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know the statistics, but it's been significant, hasn't it? And then so many things have changed as well. The way they work, the way that we meet. It's all completely changed. So some of it's for the better, some of it's okay, and some of it's not so good. So but we're still learning.
Well, if it wasn't for COVID, the three of us wouldn't be sitting here chatting tonight. So
that's true. And because I remember that, because I remember the very first council meeting, and it was only a long time later that the staff admitted that they were really concerned about how that would all pan out, because obviously it was all new then, Teams and Zoom, it was all new. I remember sitting in my room, I had my laptop, I had my iPad, I had my phone, I had about 2,000 bits of paper pinned to the wall, and it was like some kind of James Bond super headquarters thing, you know, trying to try and actually get it to move forward. Whereas now we don't even think about it. I mean, I as I said, I was at vet school today, but I had another meeting, and it was Teams on my phone, and phone is fantastic. You know, it's absolutely, you know, and you think nothing of it now. Whereas when it started, it was all really strange.
It was. Well, I've got to get ready. I've got a Zoom meeting in a couple of hours' time.
I mean, I'm going to make sure I'm not wearing any trousers. Think about it, and technology is catching up as well. You know, because just amazed at the technology. Just the other day, a week while ago, I was giving a talk, and I was saying to my oldest son about this talk, and you know, because my memory is terrible, I have to refer to notes, whether it's on my iPad or something. I was worried it was away. My oldest son's an optometrist, and he's trialing out this pair of glasses just now, and it's got a teleprompter in it that he can see that no one else can see. And what it does, it's AI powered, because what happens is it talks at your speed, and if someone stops you and asks a question, it stops, and then it goes on when you go on. And if someone, for instance, starts speaking to you in probably a reasonably common foreign language like German or French, it will translate it for you.
No way.
This is technology just taking off. I mean, there's things we're going to be taking for granted very soon that we wouldn't even have thought of. So it's amazing.
Do you know, that's going to revolutionize amateur dramatics.
Oh, very much so. And apparently, Andrew, my son, was saying that 70% of the sales that they're getting at the moment, there's nothing wrong with their eyesight. They just want these glasses because of all these wee perks and how they work. So I say there'll be no prompters at the side of the stage.
No,
it'll be a disaster for the story.
Obviously, sadly, you'll have to put up with Hamlet wearing glasses, but that's not a big deal.
Yeah, you get over that.
No, it could be worse than that, Neil. It could be devastating for the Storrington players. because the one guy that continually forgets his lines also isn't the best actor. So at the moment they've got an excuse for him not getting parts. But if he turns up with his sort of super specs on,
I know.
I say,
absolutely,
I'm ready for my lines. So yeah, you better get rid of him before the glasses become widely known, Julian.
We'll find a way of getting rid of him. Don't worry.
Yeah.
But I tell you, all these things are just moving on exponentially, so we have no idea what's coming along next week.
I want a pair of these glasses.
Well, there you go. I'll put you in touch with Andrew, and he'll get you sorted out.
That's absolutely mad.
Really?
And also, it does things like, for instance, Google Maps and all that. That's all part of it. So if you want to find directions, that'll all be part of it as well. So you just walk along, you know where to go. You can look up things, and you don't. And in fact, ultimately, I suspect what's going to happen is you probably won't have a phone. It'll just be your glasses, or it'll be some implant in your head. Who knows?
It's only going to be men who buy these glasses, isn't it? They don't want to ask for directions. They want to read something while their wife's talking at them.
It could be a disaster for those YouTube clips of people walking into lampposts and falling down holes because they're looking at their phones.
I know.
Because they won't have to look down.
No, they won't be looking at
straight ahead.
That's right. They're probably looking ahead
on a heads-up display.
Yeah.
Mind you, I saw someone with a little earphone and mic the other day walking along, talking to himself, and are they mad? You used to be able to tell, didn't you? You used to be able to think, are they dangerously psychotic, or are they?
We did used to have people that used to walk along talking to themselves. It's funny you should say that, Julian. That did occur to me a couple of months ago that we used to have folk, and now, of course, now you don't even think about it. Everybody walks along, it looks as if they're talking to themselves.
Yeah.
So they've just been folded into the rest of the population. So
used to be a good way of getting a double seat yourself on the train, though, didn't it? A bit of string hanging out of your mouth and talk to yourself. It's great.
It's called inclusivity, isn't it?
Now perhaps Neil could tell us something about that. Inclusivity comes with two other letters, doesn't it?
What's that? Say that again.
Inclusivity comes with two other letters, doesn't it?
What are the two other letters?
E and D.
Diversity.
Yeah. Well, obviously that's obviously something I'm interested in, and obviously there's I think as the veterinary nursing professions, we're kind of moving ahead and we're getting better at that, but the world as it is, there's still a long way to go. So, and that was another honour for me as well, to chair the very first diversity and inclusion working group for the college as well. So, and at the moment I'm on the legislative change working party for that kind of thing. So it's something that's always worth considering. The world is becoming more aware and more inclusive now, so and that's really important.
I think it is working, isn't it? You said it seems to be going well within the veterinary profession, but I think even outside, there's a long way to go.
There is a long way to go, and human nature, sometimes it takes a wee while for things to change, because people without meaning to are meaning to unkind. Sometimes they do tend to just kind of sort of tick boxes in their head and possibly make judgments about things which they don't really. It's a funny thing, because people actually, I think it's what you know, because obviously if you're not in that situation, you won't necessarily be aware of some of the challenges or the potential barriers. So it's your lived experience. So and if you become aware and try to understand things from other people's point of view, that it will be helpful. And funnily enough, that is actually what my 60-second CPD is about.
Really?
That's a nice segue, isn't it?
Oh, hang on a minute.
So shall we get into that then?
Hang on a minute. Whose show is this, Neil? Wait.
Oh dear.
God, I don't know. 60 seconds. He's sprung that one on us, hasn't he?
Sorry, I didn't mean to. It just your hand to touch on. And I thought it'd be remiss of me not to mention that, but I will totally defer to whenever you want to do it. You might not even want to do 60-second CPD. You might think, he's going to be rubbish. Let's not even bother. This will out for this episode, and that will be absolutely fine by me.
What you do know is, while you're talking, Mike and I are on the chat, just sort of steering the conversation a bit. Mike just said, let's steer this into the 60-second CPD. So, whoa, Mike, stop recording for a moment. I want to
go. Whoops! Oh, I've lost it. Come onto it and off it again. Oh dear.
So, Neil, you want to undertake the 60-second challenge? See?
I'll give it a go.
You'll give it a go. Okay. Well, in that case, then, Neil, can I ask, what is the topic of your 60-second CPD?
Well, the thing is awareness of accessibility and actually having a look through the accessoscope.
The what?
Yes, accessoscope. That's a word I just made up.
The accessoscope.
To look through it, looking at things with an a consideration of accessibility.
Brilliant. Well, in that case, then, 60-second CPD challenge. Niall Connell, 60 seconds on the Accessoscope. Starting, whoop, I got the wrong finger. Hey, you can tell we haven't done this for a while. Starting now.
Think accessibility. Pretend you're pushing a large shopping trolley or that you're a Dalek. Going to any event, you research ahead for accessibility by email or phone in Google Street Map. Entrance, are there stairs, a ramp or a lift? Do you need to contact reception? Stairs inside, even one step. Hallways, internal doors, how do they open? Wide enough? Can your Dalek fit comfortably in the lift without dismantling? Can you turn or do you need to reverse out? Rooms, are there Dalek spaces among the seats? Are there spaces between tables to manoeuvre the room, or does your Dalek have to lurk sadly at the entrance? Obstacles like equipment legs. If in a dais, is there a ramp? Is the ramp robust enough, not too steep? Assembly rooms with standing tables. Is a room to get around? Staff member to assist? Are they helpful? Too helpful? With your experience, will your Dalek feel welcome or sad and just want to exterminate?
And that's
Wow.
60 seconds perfectly.
Wow.
Well, that is amazing. We've never had Daleks referred to on the show before.
Yeah, I do like the Dalek, I have to say.
For those who are listening rather than looking, Neil is holding up a little toy Dalek, which of course were magically thwarted by steps on the show.
I think new Daleks can fly, but they're a bit rubbish.
Yeah, they can't.
As Mike said, I'm old school. I prefer the old Dalek.
Yeah, that was brilliant.
I mean, for those that don't know Neil, and bear in mind that not all our listeners are veterinary professionals. You know, we've got a number of the general public around. You are operating with your MS with a magnificent powered wheelchair, aren't you? That's your whole.
So to summarize, I'm an ambulatory wheelchair user. I do use a wheelchair. I can walk a couple of steps, so that makes life very easy for me. I'm very lucky in that respect. So I use a power chair to get around. When I take the dog out, I use a mobility scooter as well. So our hut is filled with all sorts of implements and crutches and sticks and grabbers and all sorts of things. So the power chair, I have to say, for me, has completely opened up my life. Originally, when I could walk with difficulty, I was struggling, and my wife encouraged me to get a mobility scooter. And I have to say, that's a real kind of emotional and intellectual barrier, because I didn't want to sort of give in to that. I felt it was giving in. And this is something I actually encounter now with a lot of people thinking about mobility scooters. Whereas now these kind of aids, I just think of, we're talked about glasses, they're like glasses. If you need glasses, you just use them. The thing with the power chair, that has completely, obviously opened up my life. I could not have done the job with the council over 10 years in London, working part-time in London without my power chair. So I get passenger assistance down to London. When I was president, I was down every week. I don't use taxis. I don't use the tube unless I'm going to London Vet Show. So cut about the whole of London. I'm the king of London, so I can can move about from between Paddington Station, Euston, out to London Wall, to the South Bank. So it's all done under electric power. It's very sustainable and I'm very fast. And I try not to run over anybody. And if I do, I try to keep that secret. Just hose it down at the end. Nobody knows. It's fine. Not been caught out yet. It's all good. But it's been a life changer for me. So otherwise I'd be snookered.
So the use of the chair? This is a major. Obviously, MS is insidiously creeping on and on. But the transition from I can hobble over there to I am going to use the chair. Was there a particular moment that you accepted or were forced to accept that, or was it a general coming to terms of
yes that? No, I think so, because because you realize you can't sort of walk so much, and I have over time falling a few times. So I've broken my leg twice. I've dislocated my elbow. I've fallen a few times, and so really the walking becomes really problematic, and your balance and everything. I have to say I have been very, very fortunate, because at the time when I was diagnosed in 2003. And at the time they said, well, do you know what? You're kind of middle-aged, you're a guy. Chances are you're going to deteriorate very quickly. And do you know what? Touch wood, that actually hasn't happened to that extent. So I have been very, very lucky, and I'm very grateful for that. And I have got a positive outlook as well. So I think that's important as well. I think for anybody with a chronic illness, to have a positive outlook is probably something that's actually really quite valuable. And I know I mention this, my wife will probably batter me mentioning this, but you know, I will mention it because I'll show you where I'm coming from with illness. That we don't take life for granted. My wife had pancreatic cancer, which generally is not something that you survive. Now that's 9 years that she's been free of it. And she'll moan her face off at me all the time, but she never did moan at all when she had that. She had a very positive attitude and got through that incredibly well. But that was quite difficult. We do appreciate every day. And so that is my mantra. Expect nothing, appreciate everything. So, but the power chair was necessary, otherwise we wouldn't be going anywhere. And it's funny, you can watch movies, you might be watching some movie and you're watching some guy or somebody walking through a city and think, try to see the way they just walk like that, just walk. It's great. Walking, that's great. But that's fine. But to be fair, with the power chair, I can go pretty fast. So
you can. I struggle to keep up with you.
So I arrive at Euston Station, obviously when the house is down at Westminster, I could do that. That's about 3.5 miles. You could do that in about 40 minutes, which is pretty good considering you had crowds and you had, various protests and things in the streets. And I could make my way through all that. And I haven't, to my knowledge, ran anybody over. Touch wood.
That's pretty good going. I mean, a lot of people would struggle to walk that in that period of time. I mean,
it's quick. It's quick, to be honest.
Is this where you were channeling the inner Dalek?
Well, absolutely.
You didn't say exterminate.
Yeah, I try not to exterminate too many people, but
and I guess if you say it, then it's premeditated, isn't it? What more do you want to get out? I didn't mean to, but you said exterminate. Oh well, yeah, obviously I meant no one.
Sorry, I meant excuse me. Could you move aside so that I can get through?
I'll tell you something though about that, which is quite interesting. A lot of people think London is quite unfriendly, and obviously most people you meet in London are generally trying to get from A to B in a certain amount of time, and everybody's moving about really quickly. But my experience over 10 years is people have actually been very friendly, very helpful, and it's quite surprising actually. In many situations, people's offering to help or saying things, and it's great. In fact, it's funny because one time I was walking along Horseferry Road, which is obviously where the RCVS was, and I saw this young girl with a white stick, and she was looking kind of unsure of things. And I said to her, "Can I help you?" And she said, "Well, I'm trying to get to Pret." And I said, "Oh, well, that's back the way, so I'll show you." So we went back and we were crossing the road, and she said, "Excuse me, I don't want to offend you, but are you in a wheelchair?" And I said, "Yeah, we make a right pair." So that was great. But people do help each other, and it's been great. So I have to say, I'm very impressed by the London folk. They're great.
I think people are generally nice, aren't they?
They really are.
I took part. So I did my first degree down in Plymouth, and I was in a house with a few psychologists, and I took part in one of their experiments once, where for 3 days they pushed me around in a wheelchair. We went into shops to buy things, just to chart people's reactions. Now this was getting on for 40 years ago. And I think things have changed a little bit. It was in Plymouth, so they're a different breed anyway. But back then, people would tend to talk to the person pushing the chair and ignore me. Or when they spoke to me, it was, very patronizing. You all right? Did you want to buy something? I said, well, actually, yes, I really would be quite interested in buying. Oh, would you? Yeah. And they'd look up at the person, brush me. What's he want to buy?
That gun over there.
Yes. I think so. The thing is, Julian, I think, and it's the same obviously if there's a bereavement and things like that. I think people want to say something. They probably want to be kind, but it catches them in the hop and they don't know what to say. And sometimes it kind of comes out wrong. And I know there are people with, obviously health issues or in wheelchair, and sometimes they can be really offended by that. But, see, at the end of the day, people mean well. And unless they're actually trying to be, unkind, I've no issue with that. But you do get a bit of that. And the size that I am in a power chair, I mean, I'd probably be bigger than most Daleks. And sometimes you can feel quite invisible. But that's how it is. So it's the chair of invisibility. And do you know what? That's not always a bad thing.
I was going to say, I wouldn't mind that sometimes.
I know. Well, it's come in handy a couple of times, to be honest.
Yeah. Especially as president of the BSAVA now. Sometimes I think,
that's true.
I wish no one would see now. Click my fingers.
I know, but see, that's the thing, because obviously, if you're president of BSAVA and you're cutting about conference and things like that, people will come at you, they want stuff, speak to you, they want you to do stuff. So if you had the chair of invisibility, you could slip through very nicely and enjoy the ambience without having to make any efforts. That'd be really nice.
I'm amazed by this because, Neil, you are not only a big character, you're a formidable sized gentleman.
Oh, I know.
Chair,
I know.
And yet you're describing this as the chair of invisibility.
No, it really is. I know, it's funny. Yes, because there was talking about size, because I remember there was one time we were talking about breaking bad news to clients and obviously using the tone of your voice and body language. And I was saying, obviously, if you use, watch your body language and you modify the tone, you can actually speak to people and actually sometimes break bad news or potentially, I suppose, mildly rebuke them without them taking offence if you do that in a kind fashion. And one of the vets I worked for said, yeah, but it helps, Neil, if you're like you, 6'4" and built like a brick shithouse.
Yes, is that when you sort of gently say, now perhaps that's not your best idea today? Yeah. When you're 5'5" like me and him, it doesn't work quite the same way.
That's right. I find people normally say, "Do you want to buy something?" Yeah.
That's only because you walk around in shorts.
Show me away to the child section, please.
Yeah, that's only because you walk around in shorts all the time. I don't know.
Doesn't help, does it?
Let's come back onto this accessoscope.
Yeah.
Yeah, I Googled that earlier and couldn't find it, and then realised you must have made it up.
I just made it up. Yeah. It's like, because we've got the retrospectoscope, haven't we? So we think about that. So accessoscope, I just made it up for this. Actually, it's brand new. I should patent it.
Yeah.
It's just looking at things from a different point of view. Because again, I remember a couple of years ago, there's a veterinary nurse that I worked with, and we were going round the BSAVA Congress, in Birmingham. So we're going between the ICC and the NIA, and obviously, so the route that I take in a power chair and what have you. And I always remember Lizanne saying, she said, actually walking with you, I'm actually seeing things from a different point of view.
Yeah.
Because obviously you have to modify what you do and how you get about. And again, it's just something that people don't realise. And I think sometimes it's helpful just to try and be a wee bit more aware that, it's the old story, isn't it? Because it's that saying that you never know what people are going through, so to try and, obviously be kind and be, aware that, other people have got, challenges and barriers and things like that. So I think it's good to reflect and try to see, things from other people's point of view. I tell you, the one thing that's quite funny with BSAV in Birmingham. Though the one thing that causes problems with the power chair is cambers. So the cambers, so you've got the monoblock beside the canal. It's raining. The camber, I nearly slipped sideways into the canal, and it just stopped in the nick of time. And that was quite exciting.
Oh, sure it was.
And I thought, this could be some kind of extreme sport, but I didn't really like it.
And I'm guessing your wheelchair isn't one of the ones that suddenly and you get these big inflatable tires, and
No, it doesn't have big inflation. It wouldn't be able to float in the canal, to be honest. I think it's like a stone and never be seen again. So the chair weighs about 180 kilograms, and that's before I'm sitting in it.
Gosh, that's a weighty thing. How long do the batteries last?
Sorry? How long do the batteries? Do you know, I'm not actually sure. I suspect it'll probably, obviously, it would depend. If I was lighter, it would last longer. So you're always kind of trying to be mindful. So this thing about electric cars and journeys and stuff, I mean, I've been doing that for years. So if you get the opportunity to stop somewhere, if you're having a meeting, I just charge it up. Do you know, I'd probably, this new one, I would probably guess maybe 12, 15 miles, or maybe more.
That's pretty good.
I've never tested it to the extreme. And obviously in the winter, if it's snowing and things like that, that's obviously that'll cause more problems with the batteries as well. A couple of times in the past with old mobility scooters, I've been caught out with them, the batteries dying, which has been interesting.
It's funny you should say that about Birmingham, and you brought to my mind there the canals around the ICC and the centre of Birmingham. And I was thinking, a wheelchair, not a problem. There's a lovely, all of the bridges there, they're not steep, they're gently curved. But they were built in the time of horse-drawn barges. And they've all got those vertical ladders of bricks for the horses to be able to...
That's right. So there is ways you can get, I mean, it is quite accessible, but you have to sometimes take the long way round.
Yeah.
So there's a couple of bits when you go between the two sides, you will actually have to go out to the street roundabout and go round it. So you can't just go directly between it. Yeah. But that's where the scoping ahead sort of thing is, or experience. So obviously if you go somewhere, I mean, and you get the hang of it. For instance, for 10 years, I went to our local music festival, Tea in the Park in Fife. It was fantastic. And the first time we went, it was really difficult. Transport, mobility scooter, getting in, doing this, that, and the next thing. But you end up, you kind of learn all the kind of tricks and things you can do. So you just have to build up that experience. But it's a kind of learning curve. So
you just reminded me of a quote from Terry Pratchett. Do you remember the fantasy author who said that you should walk a mile in your enemy's shoes and then take them off and run for it, because your enemy by that time will be a mile away with no shoes. You mentioned reflection a little while ago, and that also reminded me. We want to put your 60 seconds of CPD down on our one CPD records, but we can't really, because we need reflection for it. So do you have a reflection question or a reflection?
Well, I really just what we said, actually. So the reflection question would be just to actually think of some situation that you're used to, or some building that you like, or some event that you go to. And as I said, imagine that you were pushing an Asda trolley fully loaded, or you were inside a Dalek, and how could you manage it? Would you do what you're doing just now, or would you have to modify your behavior? So
that's a really important question. Yeah. Another important question is, can we actually put this down as 60 seconds of CPD? I think we can, can't we?
I think we can. Yeah. That's the wonderful thing about CPD, and I think it's some people are, they're probably not, they're unsure of that concept just now. Is I think anything really that improves you as a professional, and certainly your work. And it doesn't necessarily have to be 100% specifically veterinary or clinical. I think is reasonable CPD. So I think
excuse me for a second.
Relaxed about that.
Excuse me just for a second, because I'm getting too excited. Yay!
Me too.
Yeah. Is that an official endorsement of 60-second CPD from Veterinary Ramblings from the ex-president of the RCVS?
It is. That means we chalked up a whole minute, a whole hour of CPD last year.
Sadly, Mike, that counts for absolutely nothing. But you've certainly got my endorsement, So you've got me as a fan anyway. So,
oh bless you.
In anticipation of it
too
being
kind,
valid, I've made you a CPD certificate, Neil. So it's a certificate of making sure that life is accessible.
Oh, great! Very good.
There we go. And I've included a few things there, some of which we've got on to. In fact, just one bit, because there's a bit of orthopaedics. That was a
that was a hell of a fracture.
That,
there was a feline femur about 15 pieces.
That's impressive. Oh, here, it's funny talking about that the other day there about orthopedics, because orthopedics has figured in our life. As I said, I broke my leg a couple of times and dislocated my elbow. But my wife, Colette, a number of years ago, was in a car crash, and she had a double femur fracture. But no, not two fractures in the same femur. And so I always remember at the time, so she got a 16mm interlocking nail inserted into her femur. So that's obviously the rod, 16mm, with a screw at the top and a screw at the bottom. And that was done at Glasgow Royal. And it was, so when it was, she was healing up fine. It was quite a difficult time. But so we went along for one of the checkups. And so she was in the room, and I sat in this wee plastic chair in the corner, minding my own business. And the registrar came in, and it was pre-digital. It was a cold light, so he puts up the plate on the screen and said, everything looks great. And of course, this git in the corner says, is that top screw not broken? So he turns around, looks at the plate, says nothing, grabs off, and leaves the room. And so 10 minutes later, the consultant comes through and says, that top screw is broken. You need to do it all again.
No.
And and it's funny, and I often wonder, did that registrar ever own up to the fact that it was the punter in the corner that spotted it? It was just a very loose, it was a hairline just through the threads.
Really?
And I spotted it. And of course, it would cause a massive stress, right? And the whole thing to fail. And so I was talking to my daughter. She's a doctor, and she says, "Nah, he wouldn't have admitted it. They'll have taken the chance." Because I didn't say anything when the guy came back in. I didn't say anything. I thought, whatever. But so it's quite funny.
Did he know you were a vet?
So it's a one up for vets, I have to say. Unfortunately, I had to go through the whole thing again, which wasn't ideal, but
similar thing happened to my daughter a few years back when she was 11. She tripped over in the playground and came home and I've hurt myself. Yeah, better in the morning. It wasn't better in the morning. So we took her to hospital and they x-rayed it and they said no, good, it's absolutely fine. I said, well, except for the radial fracture, yes, but that should heal with a little bit of, we'll cast it.
That's the exact same thing.
I think you'd finished your sentence.
You need the vet in the room,
you do.
To make sure things are right. My goodness, that is slightly disconcerting.
No, there's a few things we haven't spoken about here. There's travel. There's travel. That's Shanghai. There's music. You mentioned the music festival.
Yes.
Which is WOMAD. And there's books. And I know that all three of those are important to you.
Yeah, definitely.
So, have you been to WOMAD at all, Neil?
Have I been to what?
WOMAD. It's down south in the UK. It's a big music festival in Malmesbury.
No, I haven't heard of it.
You should come along. It's great fun. It's 4 days. I think they've reduced 3 because everything's shrinkflation, isn't it? So, for 3 days for the cost of 4 these days. But there are about 7 or 8 different tents with world music playing in each one. We saw Ladysmith Black Mambaza in it.
Oh, I've seen them a number of years ago. They were fantastic.
Fantastic, weren't they? Yeah.
No, they're really, really fantastic.
So, but do you play any instruments?
Sadly not. And do you know what? It's funny. I don't really have any regrets, but I suppose two regrets I suppose I could squeeze out do relate to music. One is I never made a proper effort to go and see David Bowie. That was a mistake. Secondly, I've always wanted to play the electric guitar, and I thought when I stopped work, I thought, you know what, I could have it go. But unfortunately, my left hand is actually hopeless. I can't use it. So that's not something that's open to me. But I wish I'd been able to play electric guitar. That'd be quite good. I had a wee go at trying bass guitar, but it wasn't any good either. So
bass guitar isn't any good.
Well, unless you're Chris Wire, yes, in which case you'd be an absolute genius. But generally, it's not ideal. But so yeah, I'm a big fan of music. It's always been a big thing in my life, I have to say.
Do you go to many concerts?
Not so many now. The first year I stopped work, I think I must have seen something like 100 acts. I went mad.
Wow.
I've probably seen most things, so, and I suppose I've a reasonably kind of eclectic taste. There was one week I saw Iron Maiden and Liza Minnelli in the same week. So that was quite jolly.
I can see.
But not the same bill, I have to say.
I can see it warming up for Iron Maiden.
Yeah. But Liza Minnelli was actually really good. But I have to say, I was sitting watching her, and I remember at the time thinking, my goodness, that's Judy Garland's daughter. My good, that's all went in my head. Near Judy Garland's daughter. So anyway, it was good. But yeah, so there's been a lot of concerts and seen a lot of good bands. I've seen a lot of things that normally wouldn't be my thing, but I've really enjoyed. So, it's been quite good.
I saw the Stranglers at Brixton Academy back in
I've seen Stranglers as well. They're great. Yeah.
That was one of the best concerts.
I was a big fan when, obviously, 1977, that was the year I left school. Obviously, Rattus and Avergicus came out. Peaches, that was fantastic. And it's funny because music is just like an instant tunnel into the time that you first heard it.
Yeah.
So I can remember that really well.
What was your first gig?
It was like 100 years ago.
What was your first gig?
Well, first gig was I think it was in the kind of Glasgow, what was it, Glasgow Trades Hall, and it was someone called Nusha Fox. It was the 70s, and I think she had a couple of hits, and it was something like Only You Can and something else.
Right.
I believe she's, Ben Goldsmith.
Yeah.
That's his mum. So
no, really?
Yeah. Wow. So, but it was good. I remember at the time. But that was the first thing, and the second thing I went to see was Queen. So I've seen Queen with Freddie Mercury about 5 times, and they were fantastic shows, I have to say.
What was your first gig, Julian?
My first gig was Donovan.
Wow. Donovan, fantastic. I saw him supporting Yes in 1977.
Did you?
Yeah. The boy from Maryhill in Glasgow. Yeah, he's
Lewisham Town Hall. No one else stuck. There were 5 of us stuck around for his autograph. And he said, guys, I'm meeting my son at the pub across the road, so I can't spend long. So we all went to the pub with him.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah. We didn't sit at the same table. That would have been.
Yeah, that would have been a bit weird, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
So Vet Ramblings, 3 bald old guys descend into reminiscing.
I know.
What was your first?
How sad can we get this?
My first.
It's not only 3 old guys, it's 3 baldy old guys.
Yeah, I know.
It's like 3 old eggs.
Yeah.
Can't be about music that the young ones will never have heard of.
Yeah.
So say Donovan, they wouldn't even know who Donovan is.
Yeah. My first, Julian, was a little known band called Black Sabbath.
Oh, fantastic.
Very good. That's great. I've seen Black Sabbath, they're great, but not in the old days. But that's amazing.
Yeah. I've been to see more concerts in the last 10 years than I have in my first 50 odd years. I've been to see Pink Floyd a couple of times at O2.
Oh wow! And I've seen loads of tribute acts, but I've obviously never seen real Pink Floyd.
Worth going to see. Absolutely fantastic. Really, really good.
Oh, yeah.
I saw Chaz and Dave there as well. So don't trust my musical sense.
I saw Chaz and Dave at Nebworth when they were supporting another little lone band called Led Zeppelin.
Oh, you are joking.
They
Yeah.
supported
Honestly, that respect, because I've seen Robert Plant, Jimmy Page playing, and they played some Led Zeppelin songs. But I've never saw Led Zeppelin. That would be incredible.
Yeah, it was.
But Led Zeppelin I would have loved to have gone to see, and Dire Straits I would have loved to have gone
I've
to
seen
see.
Dire Straits. That was the last band I saw at Glasgow Apollo. I think that was like 1980. And they were
because they did the Earl's Court. That was a tour. Did the Earl's Court?
Yeah, fantastic. And I went there with Colette, my wife. She fell asleep.
What? No way. I saw the Temptations.
But they were very good.
Temptation was good. And Don McLean.
Oh, very good.
Well, Don McLean at the Fairfield Halls in Ashcroft Theatre. Fairfield Halls in Croydon.
Mm-hmm.
It was always going well until he stopped halfway through Vincent, walked down to the audience and hit someone because they were talking.
That's certainly very.
Walk back onto the stage and carried on playing.
If they tried that in Glasgow, that probably wouldn't have worked out well.
Is that why we haven't heard so much of him recently? He did try it in Glasgow. And what about books? Just briefly, what are your favourite genres, oeuvres?
Do you know, honestly, again, it's quite eclectic. Just to read a lot. I should read more. Actually, I'm always impressed because the moment I see that Robin Hargreaves is a great reader, and he's reading. He's reading a whole load of stuff, and I thought, I really should read more. The difficulty, I guess, that's an MS thing. And now, if I try to read it now, I just fall asleep. So it's quite difficult. So but try to read as much as possible. I'll tell you just now the things that I'm reading. It's incredible. So obviously since Homer's times, we've had the Odyssey and all the Greek myths. So I'm talking thousands of years, and yet just recently we've had all these retellings of the Greek myths from the point
Stephen
of view of
Fry's
women. And some of these stories are absolutely incredible. And so some of these authors and some of the revisiting ones are superb. So I've been reading a lot of those, really enjoying them.
So Ariadne.
Yes, that's right.
Wasn't it fantastic?
My memory's terrible, but names. Gosh, I can't remember the author's name, but the ones, because there's the trilogy around Penelope, the wife of Odysseus.
Yes,
they are superb, absolutely superb. Something not Clear North, is it? But these books are superb. They've opened up this whole experience that just didn't exist before. Right? They're super.
Yeah. It's very sort of thought, hang on, no one's done a sequel to any of these. Although I did read a sequel to 1984.
Oh, did you?
It's called Julia. I won't say too much about it, but no spoilers, but I wouldn't read it.
It's interesting. The thing that really amazes me just now is, talking about that kind of thing, is the fact they keep doing these kind of reboots of movies. I think, obviously, because they obviously don't trust young people to enjoy the old movies, and they remake them, and they make the most appalling ways. They're rubbish.
They do. Movies they've ruined. Lady Killers. I like Tom Hanks, but he should never have made Lady Killers. Not with the original.
I don't think I've ever seen that. So
Peter Sellers.
I've seen the original. Yes.
Yeah.
Again, if you unfortunately, if you talk to young people, I remember talking to, and this wasn't even undergraduates; it was actually vets. I mean, they weren't that old, and the young vets doing an induction course, and I mentioned the film Aliens to them, and not one of them had heard of it, and I think I went home crying.
What?
It was suboptimal.
Well, these days you say the Italian Job, and apparently there's one that didn't have Michael Caine in.
Wasn't he? Didn't he just change roles? Wasn't he in the second one?
I've not seen it. It's my favourite film.
Or someone in the second one. I don't know.
I'm gonna have to look at my Brown extension on this one.
I refuse to watch the second one. The first one is just faultless, absolutely faultless.
Well, yeah, of course it is.
So I'm not going to see the second one.
Go on, do your bit. Go on, do it. You know you like doing these things.
Well, I don't want to say the obvious because everyone says that.
Of course you have to do that.
Last night, my toilet was broken into. Broken into. Don't kill him, just rough him up a bit. And of course, everyone said, yeah, only a Paris tab, bloody doors off.
That's it. Very good.
Even Benny Hill was in there. It was great.
That's right. So he was actually.
Yeah, Benny Hill was
one the other day there, and I remembered that. That's interesting. So have you ever met any famous actors or anything like that?
I've met a few. I as Mike knows, I can be very boring about actors and acting, but I'm an aspiring chef, the odd bit here and there. And I did some stuff up at Pinewood Studios one year and met both Moores, Roger and Dudley.
Well, very good. That's impressive.
Roger Moore was very debonair and very pleased to meet.
Yeah.
Dudley Moore was, you're smaller than
Oh, when I was a kid, again, I'm sorry that this will be getting young people just turn right off. I mean, it just shows you my age. I mean, I thought Roger Moore was amazing as a saint. I loved that.
Oh, yes.
Loved it.
Brilliant.
That really is showing my age. Yeah. So.
Yeah. We're all in the same boat here.
Yeah. I used to love that. It was great, and that was when the Avengers wasn't the new Avengers.
That's right. It's the original Avengers.
The one with Patrick McNee in it. Diana Rigg. Oh, wonderful. We probably better stop before we go too much into.
I was going to say, I think half these people are dead, aren't they?
Probably.
We will be soon if we carry on.
Just trying to think, has this conversation had any veterinary content whatsoever?
Very little. Although I have met Chris Timothy. There we go.
Oh, very good. Yeah.
The original James Herriot actor.
Yeah.
He said a very rude thing to me in a pub in Chichester.
Oh, did he?
My claim to fame. I was standing with a group of friends. And they said, "There's this Christopher Timothy over there, and he's having his pie and a pint and reading a book." And they said, "You should go over and tell him you're a vet." And I said, "No, he's having a bit of time off. You can't do that." Anyway, a couple of pints later, it seemed like a really good idea. So I staggered over to him. I said, Mr. Timothy. He said, "What?" I said, "I'm a vet." He said, "Fuck off." I said, "It's a good idea." "Yes, I will." "Yes, thank you." "Yes, good point. Yes. And
that is harsh.
I saw him a few years later. He was a good friend of a lovely lady called Alexandra Bastido, who ran the animal charity up the road.
Alexandra,
she was in
the Champions.
Yeah.
What? Did you meet her?
I knew her very well. Yeah.
Oh, you are joking?
No, I was around all the time. She's a friend of mine. But I was round there one day and having a tea. And she said, "A friend of mine has come to visit. So Julian, I'd love you to meet Chrissy. Chrissy, come over here." And Chris Timothy wandered over. I said, "Yes." So, "Chrissy, this is my vet. I'm very pleased to meet you." I said, "Well, you will this time, aren't you?"
But you weren't last time. You missed an opportunity there. I think you should have just said what he said, to be honest.
Well, I should have done. I reminded him what happened. I said, "Oh God, I'm so sorry, sir. I do it all the time."
You should have said, "You will be, pal, in a minute." But I tell you, Alexandra Bastido, absolute respect. I thought she was amazing. And I tell you, it's funny because friends of ours used to have a cottage up at Loch Shiel in the middle of nowhere, and across the loch there was another cottage, and there was a guy that used to hang out there, and he was a bit of a kind of hermit, and his name was Mike Tomkes. He used to be a Fleet Street journalist, and we met him a couple of times and spoken to him, but he actually used to live with Alexandra Bastido for a while. So I kind of consoled myself with the 6 degrees of separation thing. I never met her, but I met him, which wasn't so great. But my goodness, respect.
You practically lived with her yourself, didn't you?
No, I think you crossed a line there, Julian. Gone too far.
That was too much. Let's see. We can erase that.
Well, I think we've probably had better, and then on that note, we'd probably better draw things to a close, don't you think, young man?
Maybe so.
Oh dear.
Neil,
but listen, have you had anything out of this? Because you might look at this and think, oh my God, this is a total.
Well, in answer to your question, I shall answer that question. It's been absolutely brilliant and a pleasure talking to you.
No, it's been good talking to you guys.
I'm sure.
Enjoyed it. I didn't anticipate that, to be honest.
Well, that's all right. I'm sure our listeners will get something out of this, if nothing less than the endorsement that the Veterinary Ramblings CPD is a valid CPD.
Oh, definitely. It's the best CPD ever.
The best CPD. Oh, that's perfect. So listen, if you've enjoyed yourself, if you've enjoyed listening, please click like, share, tell your friends, and do subscribe, because it really does help. And you can pick up with Veterinary Ramblings on veterinaryramblings.com and all of your streaming networks. So in that note, Niall Connell, thank you so much for sharing insight into your life with us. We've really enjoyed it. May your dog go with you.
It's been a pleasure. Thanks very much.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers.